Okay, so let's jump right in with a question that feels so basic we almost never stop to actually ask it. But it turns out this one question defines the absolute core of our economic lives. Today, we're diving into Karl Marx's classic analysis of something we all deal with, and honestly, fight over every single day, the working day.
So, what is it? What are you really selling when you go to work for a wage? The easy answer, the one we all think of, is my time, right? But according to the source material we're looking at today, well, that's not even close to the full story. The real answer is a lot more explosive, and you know what? It's the key to understanding this fundamental conflict that's just baked into the modern workplace.
And it all kicks off with this question that on the surface seems just incredibly simple. But the answer? Oh, the answer has been fought over tooth and nail for centuries. It is the central battleground where the interests of an employer and the interests of an employee just completely collide.
And here it is, the question, just as Marx framed it. But I want you to pay close attention to the language he uses. He doesn't just ask, how many hours should we work? No, he asks, how long can capital consume the labor power it bought for the day? That word, consume, that's everything. It implies something is literally being used up, and the fight is all about how much can be taken before the day is finally done.
Now, to really get why that question is so radical, we first have to understand what makes selling your time for a wage so unique. A quick look back in history makes the difference incredibly clear. So what's really fascinating here is the massive shift this slide shows us. Under a system like feudalism, the deal was brutally obvious, right? A serf owed a lord a specific number of days of labor on his land. It was a direct personal obligation. No confusion there. But under capitalism, we're all personally independent. We're free agents. We can sell our time to whomever we want for money. And because of this, Marx argues, the true social relationship gets disguised. It feels like a fair, free exchange between two equals, not the power dynamic it really is.
And this brings us to a crucial point. You don't actually sell your completed work. What you sell is your labor power, your capacity, your potential to work for a set amount of time. Think about it like this. You're not selling the finished chair. You're renting out the carpenter for 8 hours. And that potential, that ability to create value, is the one commodity that most of us actually have to sell. An employer buys it, and their whole goal is to get as much real, actual work out of that potential as they possibly can. So you can see how this distinction immediately sparks a conflict. It creates a contest that takes place over the entire 24 hours of every single day. The second your capacity to work has been sold for the day, a whole new struggle begins. Who gets to decide what the limits of that day actually are? From the perspective of capital, the argument is, you have to admit, brutally logical. It goes like this. I have purchased 1 full day's worth of your labor power. Therefore, the working day should be the full 24 hours, minus only the absolute bare minimum of rest needed to make sure you can physically show up tomorrow. Time for your family, for your community, for yourself. From this point of view, that's time you're actually stealing back. And believe me, this isn't just some abstract theory. This quote perfectly illustrates the mindset in the real world. Here we have 19th century steel manufacturers arguing that working around the clock, even through the night, is totally fine. They even have the audacity to suggest it might be better for your sleep schedule. It's a complete justification designed to keep the machines running no matter what the human cost. And it gets even more blunt. I mean, wow. When another factory owner was asked why they might not want boys under 18 working all night, the answer had nothing to do with health or safety or morality. The only reason? It would cost more. Marx's little note here in the parentheses just says it all. What cynical naivete. It's this moment of just shocking honesty where the profit motive is laid completely bare for everyone to see. So this relentless, systemic drive to stretch the working day as long as possible led Marx to one of his most famous and, frankly, terrifying metaphors. He needed a way to describe an appetite that could just never, ever be satisfied. So what is this hunger for exactly? What's the prize in this daily contest? It's something Marx called surplus labor. Now, in simple terms, this is the part of the day you work after you've already earned enough to cover your own wage. This extra unpaid time is the direct source of all profit. So the logic becomes really simple. The more you can stretch the working day, the more surplus labor you can extract. And there it is, a werewolf hunger for surplus labor. What's so important to understand here is that Marx isn't just talking about a few greedy CEOs. No, he's describing the core logic of the system itself, a blind, structural drive that has to maximize profit just to survive. And in its hunger, it will consume not just a worker's free time, but their health, their sleep, their very lives.
Now, this violent struggle over every single minute of the day, it isn't just some dusty relic from the Industrial Revolution. It is a constant battle that has shaped our labor laws for centuries, and you know what? It continues to define our world today in all sorts of new and subtle ways.
This timeline shows this incredible historical flip-flop. For hundreds of years, the power of the state was used to pass laws to make the working day longer. But then, by the 19th century, after decades of brutal struggle by workers, the tide finally started to turn. The state was forced to step in and legally shorten the day. The 8-hour day that we all think of as normal, that wasn't a gift. It was a hard-won ceasefire in a centuries-long war.
And this data right here shows you what people were fighting against. Just look at this family of 6. They're living on land owned by the famous reformer, the Earl of Shaftesbury. After they pay their rent, the entire family had to survive on just over 2 shillings per person for the whole week. This wasn't a living wage, it was a survival wage, designed to keep people just healthy enough to come back to work.
So, why does any of this history matter to us right now? Because the werewolf is still hungry. The contest for our 24 hours has just changed its form. Today, the battlefield isn't just the factory floor. It's the smartphone in your pocket, buzzing with emails after hours. It's the gig economy that has no clock-out time. It's that completely blurred line between your living room and your office. The fundamental struggle over our time is as fierce as it has ever been.
Which brings us to this final, really powerful question. The entire analysis we've just walked through is built on one core idea, that a human being's time and their capacity to work is the ultimate source of all economic value. So if that's true, who really has the right to control it? The person who buys it for a day, or the person whose life it actually is?